Oh, good morning, Afghanistan. Boy, one thing I can count on in the morning when I get up at 4:30, turn on the news about 5 to catch 15 minutes before I start reading my daily newspapers. And for that 15 minutes of the 5 o'clock news, I can count on two things. That in Afghanistan, somebody blew themselves up and blew a bunch of other people up too. NATO troops and all that, and they never disclose who it is until you see that, 5 minutes or a minute of silence on PBS they do once a week with all the Americans that were killed that don't seem to make the news. And Detroit, there's always a shooting every single day. There's 2 or 3 shootings and somebody gets killed every single day. You can count on that. Afghanistan, Detroit. Matter of fact, here in Michigan, we had 2 cities claim the dubious distinction of the most violent in the country. Flint, Michigan, taken over by an emergency manager, and Detroit, who is now taken over by an emergency manager. And I will be doing a video with a map to explain a couple things. But now we have the Pan-American Bridge that the governor of Michigan wants to be built. It's telling us that it's going to create jobs, and it's not going to be built at the expense of the taxpayers, which is a lie. Because when has a politician ever told the truth? Never. So why would anybody want to believe him when he says you won't pay a dime? And everybody's going to jump on the bandwagon, oh, we won't pay a dime. And then it's going to cost them up the ass. Well, here in Michigan too, they have a plan to increase the employment by building more casinos. Yes, that's a plan that always works. Look how good Detroit's doing. They opened the casinos, they were going to save the day, save the schools, save the city. But now they're shutting half the city down, turning off the lights and the garbage pickup. And if you're left there, it's just going to be like it's going to be like one of those movies in the future, like where that guy's, the Detroit's like a big prison, they just throw them in there. That's what it's going to be like. But anyway, unemployment. In the county I live in now, which is beautiful out here, this is the island, I'm going to my little job, and they claim the unemployment's gone down. Well, it hasn't gone down, it's just people are not collecting unemployment, they're not working, and they're no longer counted. Now, the overall employment situation in Michigan actually ticked up a little bit, the unemployment, because they're laying off all these cops and firemen and teachers and custodians and maintenance workers for these cities. Everybody's laying off, just like I predicted like a year ago. All the municipalities are laying off right now, and there was an uptick in the unemployment numbers of people collecting, but at the same time, we got thousands of people dropping off every week. So eventually, it'll go down again because so many people is going to drop off that they're no longer collecting and they're no longer counted. And that's what's happening out here. The same story in the newspaper that says that we're doing better in unemployment. Number one, they're just like minimum wage paying jobs, whatever the hell that is. Mostly, 90% of them are. So we're creating a class of people that can't afford to consume. They can only afford to barely eat, and they're $5 billion cut out of the food stamp program. So now they can't even afford to fucking eat. Okay, so the unemployment in our county, underneath the same story is a story about food banks and the shelters in the same county. They're overwhelmed. There's so many people. The record number of people are being foreclosed on around here, kicked out of their homes. They got no place to go. The homeless shelters are overwhelmed. They can't get enough room for churches and all this other stuff they used to use. And the food banks can't keep the food on the shelves. Now, what is wrong? Who's telling the truth here? The food shelter people or the politician up there saying unemployment's getting better and it's going down? We know who's telling the truth and we know who's telling the lies. The politicians never fucking tell the truth. And when they talk about the Pan-American Bridge, because that's what it is, a fucking bridge from Brazil all the way to goddamn Canada that's going to cut through here in northern Michigan, or eastern Michigan rather. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna bypass everything, and we're gonna move all the companies are gonna move most of the factories to Brazil, where they're even lower wages than China. They're from China rather, to Brazil, where there's lower wages and worse working conditions in China. And then they're gonna have a fucking road that they can ship all the stuff up by truck or by rail, half of it's rail, and then road, and rail, Buffett. So everybody's gonna make $1 trillion here that's already got $1 trillion, and the people like us, well, we're just basically fucked. We are the serfs. We're paying into the system. What they're doing is they're turning us upside down, they're holding us by the ankles, and they're shaking and getting all the fucking change that is dropping out of our pockets. And pretty soon that's not going to be enough. they're going to want a lot more. They're going to want your fucking life, man. They're going to want your organs. It's going to be like in Britain, where people are selling their fucking organs to get by. That's what it is. And in India, look it up. Well, unemployment sucks. It's getting worse. And don't believe the goddamn lies. Duck out.